All right, here we go. Volunteer recognition beyond the basics, creative and impactful strategies. So I just want to go over what we'll be covering today. We're going to be exploring some budget-friendly ways to celebrate your volunteers. Just want to let you know you do not have to break the bank in order to really show your volunteers that they can be appreciated. We are going to really talk about creating a culture and community of gratitude through storytelling, partnerships, and really thoughtful appreciation. And then last but not least, we're going to discover how to strengthen engagement and really ensure that your volunteers are feeling valued, connected, and most of all, inspired to serve. So please, please, please stay to the end for some practical tips on recognizing volunteers, whether that's making them their appreciation memorable, creating that sense of community through recognition, and really tapping into digital and in-person recognition efforts. So, Court already gave you a really good introduction about me, but I do want to share a little bit more about myself. I've been a CVA since October of 2021. I am also a Girl Scout Brownie troop leader, so I am a very active volunteer myself, and it's something that brings me quite a bit of joy getting to experience a volunteer role with my daughter. And she absolutely loves me being her troop leader, so I am going to do it until she finally pushes me out and says, Mom, I don't want you to lead my troop anymore. But until then, I will be showing up for our little brownie troop. I am a founding member of the Black Women in Nonprofit Leadership Cohort, which was founded just on the cusp of COVID. And a part of that experience was we got to write a book about our experiences in the nonprofit sector. So we did write a book called I Said What I Said, and it's an anthology about Black women in the nonprofit sector. This book is not just for Black women. This is the one plug. I will let you know it's not just for Black women. It's for women. It's for men. It just really shows a transparent and open conversation about the struggles within the nonprofit world and how we've overcome them. So that's a little bit more about me. And like I said, volunteerism is something that I am deeply passionate about. But out of all of the different roles in volunteerism and the different things that we do, from recruitment, retention, any of it, recognition is probably my bread and butter. It is the one thing that I can honestly say, with the team of people that I have surrounding me and the network of individuals that I have built within my career, that I do incredibly well. And so getting to speak on this topic is something that it is not new to me, it's true to me. So, very, very excited to get to share some of the things that kind of just have sparked my journey within the recognition role. So, we're going to talk about why recognition matters for retention and recruitment, meaningful and creative ways to recognize volunteers. And we're going to go over three different ways that I think it really works. And that's making recognition personal and impactful, engaging in digital appreciation, and then low cost, high impact recognition. And then, of course, getting others involved in recognition, because as much as I love to say we are volunteer leaders, volunteer managers, volunteer coordinators, and I know some of us are a team of one, team of two, team of five, we can't do it all on our own. So getting others involved in recognition is so important. And then, of course, storytelling, making sure your volunteers are seen and valued. So I want to take a quick moment, and if you could, in the chat, just share a time that you felt truly appreciated and what made it memorable. It doesn't have to be anything volunteer related, just a moment in your period of time in your life that something just really stood out to you and just stuck in the back of your head. Addie, Court, if you want to read some as they come off, that would be great. I would like to share mine before we get into the others. So I started out my nonprofit career at United Way of Metropolitan Dallas, and then that led me into Girl Scouts. At Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas, I remember I walked in on my first day and I met volunteers and I was super excited. One volunteer looked at me and she was like, "You're not going to last long." And I remember thinking, okay. And so I would have to show up at late night meetings to help her and her other volunteer team members out. And they would ask questions and I would be like, "I don't know the answer, but I can get it for you." And she was like, "Well, she's our membership specialist. She's not going to last long. Go ahead. Let's see. I remember leaving every meeting and the next day getting every answer to her question and sending them back to her rapid fire email. Like, okay, I've got to answer this today. I've got to answer this today. At the end of the year, when we did our big volunteer appreciation for those volunteers, I remember her handing me a note and she was like, you can read it here, but I'd love for you to just read it on your own, not in front of me. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I can do that. I remember going home and opening that note, and the first words were I am so sorry I doubted you. She was like, you showed up for us even when you didn't know the answers, and you came back and you would respond to us and let us know. And you went above and beyond and showed up for us in ways that we've never had anyone do. And she was like, I appreciate that. And I am so sorry. I went on to work there for 3.5 years, and she actually nominated me for an award that was typically given out to volunteers. And I was one of the first few staff members that ever received it at a staff meeting. So that's a time when I felt truly appreciated, and it was very memorable. And I still have the note to this day. Addie Court, can we read some of the responses?
Go for it, Addie.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say I've been reading through these. They're all so amazing. Notes, handwritten notes are coming up a million times over. So lots of people have been getting given handwritten notes and also receiving rewards in recognition. So Libby said that she was receiving a recognition from my team at a 5-year anniversary. Everyone shared positive words and phrases they felt like described me, and it was neat to see what others thought and made me feel seen and appreciated. Super cool.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. So as you can see, mine was a handwritten note that I still have to this day. It is in a journal in my office. Well, not in this office, in my next to my bed. It is in a journal, and I keep that as a reminder that no matter what, I made an impact. And all it took was a note for me to feel appreciated, and I've kept that for all of these years, and that was well over a decade ago.
Yeah, it looks like other people are also sharing, things coming up in meetings, like being brought up by someone else, noticing the work that they had done
Mhm.
and saying, hey, this went really great. This worked really smooth. And, that person being surprised that they didn't realize anyone else noticed what they were doing. So that kind of surprise element seems to also be running through as a theme.
I think I just saw somebody said words of appreciation are the best. That's my top love language. Words of appreciation and acts of service. So, yes, I love a friend wrote me a poem about how I personally and genuinely impact her. It was stupendous. Have specific details about what I did that and how it made a huge difference. I absolutely love that. So, as you can see, it doesn't have to be some massive grand gesture that really stands out to make someone just feel memorable. So, why recognition matters for retention and recruitment. So, I know everybody's probably thinking, why does she have retention before recruitment? Like, don't you have to get the volunteers in order to retain the volunteers? I did this very deliberately because nearly all of the organizations that I have come in as a volunteer leader, there's already volunteers there. And in order to build an efficient program, I want to make sure that the volunteers that are there want to stay. That way I can then focus on recruiting more volunteers. So I am very deliberate when I put retention in front of recruitment because I have to be able to retain the volunteers that I currently have in order to go out and recruit more. And we'll get more into that a little bit later. So volunteers stay longer when they feel valued. Let me just tell you, people volunteer for the meaning, not the task. One of the first things that I do when it comes to meeting with our volunteers and interacting with volunteers is making sure that the work that they do matters and it aligns to what their purpose is. I want to make sure that they're feeling appreciated, and the only way they can feel appreciated is if they're staying engaged. So if it's somebody that's like, I don't want to be around people, I would much rather work in a room by myself with a task that keeps me busy the entire time. I am going to make sure that they have that exact task that they're looking for, because I know that that's going to bring them meaning. That's going to show that they're going to be able to see their work and how it matters. So it's really, really important to make sure that the volunteers understand the meaning behind their work, and they're not just like, okay, so you're popping me in to do this. I kind of read the job description, but I didn't realize it was just going to be this. It's really making sure those volunteers understand, like, this is the meaning behind what you're doing. Case in point, we have a volunteer that comes in and she literally just ties bows on socks. That's all she does for her shift. And let me tell you, it makes her happy. We tell her, you are the bow tying queen. Sandy knows this. But she also understands that those bows are going into our hope kits that go out to breast cancer patients. She sees the meaning behind those tasks. And it's something that when we don't have socks for her to tie bows on and we have to pivot a little bit, which we do let her know ahead of time, because if Sandy doesn't have her socks, she gets a little agitated. We do let her know ahead of time. She's prepared. She knows, okay, I'm not going to be going into tie bows, but I'm going into full tissue paper. The tissue paper goes inside of the hope kits. It still has the same meaning, but it's just a different task. So recognition boosts motivation and commitment. Volunteers who receive that thoughtful appreciation are more likely to return and contribute long time. I'm probably going to use Sandy quite a bit because she is my go-to person, tried and true, one of the volunteers that could have easily, when I started, decided, you know what, I don't want to be here anymore. But she has stuck through for the long haul, even through all of the changes, system changes and everything. She is one of those ones that, even just as simple, when staff know that she's in the building, they will take their time to stop and say, thank you so much for being here, Sandy. We appreciate you. We are so thankful that you're here. And it doesn't matter, that's from the top down. It could be somebody that's working directly with her, the staff member that manages her, or just a staff member who's on our development team who just happens to be working in the office and they're like, you know what? I'm going to just tell Sandy thank you since I'm walking by. Or not even just thank you, just, hey, how's your day going? How is everything? How are you doing today? It's so good to see you, Sandy. And of course, a simple thank you goes such a long way. Regular appreciation, whether it's personal messages, public recognition, or any kind of small gesture, reinforces a volunteer's sense of belonging and purpose. Public appreciation attracts new volunteers. Now, I know not every volunteer wants to be addressed publicly. One of the things that I do, and I have done in the past, is we should be sending out volunteer surveys to make sure we're pulse checking our volunteers. One of the things that I do try to ask is, how do you like to be recognized? How can we show appreciation to you? And if it's public appreciation, I make sure that we do it incredibly well, because public appreciation, and it increases your visibility, which encourages involvement from potential volunteers. So when potential volunteers are seeing others being celebrated, they're more than likely to want to be a part of that positive experience. Case in point, we give out 100-hour badges. So when our volunteers reach 100 hours, they receive a badge. I have so many people that will see someone being recognized because we posted in our Facebook group, we posted on our LinkedIn's. When they see someone else get that 100-hour badge, they will find myself or my coordinator and be like, how do I get on the schedule? What do I need to do? How can I get the gold badge? Okay, I just need to show up. And it's like, yeah, we have plenty of opportunities. Go to our volunteer portal. All you need to do is sign up. When other volunteers are seeing your volunteers be celebrated in such a public manner, they're more than likely to want to be a part of that experience. And that social proof matters. Showcasing volunteer contributions through social media, newsletters, or events really inspires others to step forward. And that has been our biggest push when it comes, like, my organization, myself and my coordinator, we don't really have to do a lot of recruitment on our own because of the things that we post on social media that pertains to our volunteers being recognized, being celebrated, and just having a good time, that volunteers find us, individuals find us, and they're like, how can we be a part of this? How can we be a part of this? I want to show up. I want to be recognized. I would love to be a part of this. This speaks to me. And that recognition also enhances your organization's reputation. A strong volunteer appreciation culture really makes your nonprofit a desirable place to be. It's a desirable place to volunteer because you have individuals that are like, okay, they're giving out 100-hour badges. Their volunteers are having a good time. There are volunteers that show up, like Sandy, every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. just to volunteer. Like, I want to be a part of a culture where there is staff that is showing their appreciation for me. There is staff that actually needs me to really push their mission forward. And let me tell you, word of mouth is so incredibly powerful. When volunteers feel appreciated, they share their positive experiences and it organically recruits new volunteers. We have volunteers that will invite their friends to join them for one shift, and that's all it takes. Addie, I saw that you came off of mute. I'm ready.
Yeah, we had two quick questions. One, they just wanted to know kind of what a badge is. And
Oh,
so that's kind of a get connected, terminology. And then the second one was a great question. How do you respond when you tell someone thank you and they say, but I didn't do anything?
okay.
Yeah, so
So,
two separate
first
questions.
question, badge. We have, this is my old one. So, when our volunteers reach 100 hours, I've built it in my budget to where they receive a gold badge. And so it has their name on it, it has our organization's logo, and then underneath it has volunteer. So, they don't have to wear the pink lanyard with volunteer anymore. When they come in to volunteer, they have their own specific badge that they get to put on that shows that, oh, I've reached 100 hours. This is my badge. This is all I have to wear. They don't have to wear that, that lanyard that you're like, oh, wow, like I have to wear this around my entire, and it's like, yes, yes, you do, unfortunately. So they do get this gold badge. Like I said, it's something that I built in my budget because it's very important to me that our volunteers have that ownership in, okay, I've been showing up for 100 hours. And once they have that buy-in with that badge, it's just like, okay, like I'm gonna keep going. At another organization, it was an apron. So they received an apron with our organization's logo on it, and it had their name embroidered on it. So when they came in, they didn't just get a generic apron. It was the other apron. And then Addie, will you repeat the second question one more time? I didn't do anything, right? Like, oh, thank you, but I didn't do anything. For me, I always connect it back to the mission. Every time someone says, oh, thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate it. Like, you don't understand how much this means to us. Oh, well, I didn't really do anything. You came in and you folded 500 bundles of tissue paper. Do you want to know what that means? That tissue paper goes into our Hope Kit boxes. That presentation is going to go to someone, a woman, on her hardest day. She's going to open that box. There's going to be a piece of tissue paper covering all of the other products that volunteers have put in there. And she's going to know somebody thought of her. It was incredibly thoughtful that someone put all of this effort and work into creating this kit that came to me free of charge. So I really always connect back task to the mission so that they understand, like, you might not think you did anything, but someone who was having one of the hardest days and receiving something that was unexpected on a day that they probably had to miss chemo because their white blood cell count was low is going to open that package and be like, wow, this was put together for me. So I hope that answers your question. Any other questions?
Yeah, there was a follow-up question, Severina. So what if you're new to an organization and there hasn't been any tracking for volunteer hours when you walk in?
Great
What do you
question.
do then?
So for me, I always this happened at a previous organization where I came in. There was no tracking whatsoever. They didn't have an actual database for volunteer information. So everything was on paper. There was no way for me to track it. All I had was various email addresses of volunteers. So one of the first things I did was I sent out an email to all of the volunteers with the survey. I wanted to just have a base point of why are you volunteering? What, like, where does your heart lie when it comes to coming into this organization? Is it with our children? Is it with our adults? Is it with the senior citizens? Like, let me know so that we can make sure that we're placing you with the appropriate people that you want to be volunteering with. And one of the questions I always ask if it comes down to a situation like this, and there's only been two within my job, my career that I've had to deal with, is how long have you been volunteering? Whether it's a year, whether it's a time frame, like you can always say, oh, you can have like just a place where they put, I started in this year. Or, oh, I've been here 1 to 3 years. I've been here 5 to 7 years. I've been 10 plus years. Just getting some kind of just measuring point. That way you can start tracking that and you can start building out what recognition looks like for volunteers. And like I said, it doesn't have to be anything big. Maybe somebody reaches 25 hours and you're like, okay, anybody who reaches 25 hours of volunteering, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make sure I write them a very heartfelt thank you note indicating we've seen you doing this, and this is why it matters. And we truly appreciate you showing up for us. Any other questions? We good? All right. A culture of community, a culture and community of gratitude builds long-term commitment. Community is huge for me when it comes to volunteer recognition. And it's something that I have really seen the impact in my current organization. That being able to sustain appreciation really fosters loyalty and your volunteers stay engaged when that gratitude is really woven into your organization's culture. And it's not just during National Volunteer Week. One of the things that I have realized is that recognition builds such big relationships. And that kind of goes into this next bullet point, to where we just realized just last year we have a Rooted in Community Volunteer Awards every year where we recognize a handful of volunteers and we invite them and their family to come in. And it's a very intimate evening where we celebrate them. After last year's event, I had a volunteer who had previously received an award come into another volunteer opportunity and was like, I have a bone to pick with you. And we were like, oh, you have a bone to pick with us. And she was like, yes, I have a bone to pick with you guys. I saw pictures in the Facebook group about you guys sharing on the Rooted in Community Awards. And I was like, yeah, like, of course we did. We did. Like, it was the other night. So it was so much fun. And she was like, I had a ton of friends that received awards that I volunteer with. And it didn't even click to me that we have our recognition program and our volunteer program has created such an amazing sense of community that our volunteers want to celebrate each other. They want to come in and be a part of each other's celebrations. And so we have created this community mindset that creates a ripple effect to where our volunteers they are a part of a bigger community that's engaged, that they're encouraging other people to join. They are mentoring other volunteers. They are really connecting with each other. And outside of our headquarters, they're connecting with each other and they're sharing like, oh, I'm this close to 100 hours. Or did you know that I reached the 250-hour mark? Or hey, I'm going in to volunteer all day at this event. Are you going to be there? So we have really created this just culture and community that feeds off of each other. And it makes something so beautiful to where when they see other volunteers being recognized, they're ecstatic and they want to be a part of those celebrations and they're ready to lift those individuals up and be like, I see you. You did such an amazing job. You're really impacting that mission of helping women now. Any questions? I just want to make sure. Are we good?
Yeah, we do have a question. One of the Emily asked, she's struggling to get the volunteers to actually show up for the appreciation events. So it's a hard time to get them to be appreciated if they're not showing up to be appreciated. But specifically, they are doing super fun things like axe throwing, trivia night, stuff like that. But do you have any suggestions?
My first suggestion is to definitely ask volunteers what they're interested in doing. Because you might be spinning your wheel thinking like, oh, axe throwing sounds so much fun. But your volunteers see that and they're like, "Oh no, this is not what I want to do." One of our most successful events that my coordinator plans is a holiday party for our volunteers. And do you want to know what our volunteers love about that holiday party? Is the fact that they get to sit around with other volunteers that they stand next to during big events and they get to chat. They just get to talk to each other. Like there is no obligation of having to serve our mission at this. There is no obligation of like, oh, we're going to do this event. Like we have to show up and do this. They literally get to sit down. We have a hot chocolate bar. We do a gingerbread house building contest. And they just get to sit around and exist as a normal human being and just get to talk to their friends. And I never in a million years thought that that would be our most popular event that we do, but it is because they just show up and they just get to exist within their volunteer community at our organization. So I would say talk to your volunteers when they're coming in like, "Hey, what's something fun that you like to do? Like what can we do to just appreciate you and get you in the door?" Maybe it's having something if you have the space at your headquarters. Maybe it's doing a coffee and tea morning where your volunteers come in and it's like, "Hey, there's no obligations to come in and serve. We just want you, like we got coffee donated from Starbucks. We want you to just come in and have a cup of Joe with us." Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think that some other people are just asking about how often should we do this type of thing? Because they don't
So,
want to be perceived as too eager or something.
so we have, okay, so we do our holiday event, we do our Rooted in Community Awards, and then we are now adding a summer event to our schedule. So we don't try to do too many things. I would say quarterly at most because you don't want volunteers to feel bogged down and feel like they keep hosting these events. Our volunteers know we're going to have our holiday party every year. They are trying to come in and be the champions of the gingerbread building contest without fail. I mean, it's a serious thing. Like we have a scoring card and everything. We have ribbons that you get to take a picture with and you get little gift bags if you win. So like it is a serious competition. And then we're implementing a summer event where my coordinator and I are going to be hosting a minute to win it game night where our volunteers can come in and we're going to play minute to win it games. Like they get to choose their teams and it's going to be a whole thing and it's going to be a lot of fun and we're going to get a little fake trophy that hey, you win, you get the little trophy, and we're going to put together some goodies for our volunteers. So I would say maybe 2 to 3 times tops. We're sticking with three: the Rooted in Community Awards, the holiday party, and our summer event, whether it's minute to win it games or if we decide, like, if our volunteers want it. I really want our volunteers to do a murder mystery. I've only found one group of volunteers that love murder mysteries like us. So I'm really hoping we can do a murder mystery event. But just really talk to your volunteers. When my volunteers are in the building, I try to talk to them as much as possible. All right. Anything else? All right, I'm moving on. So, meaningful and creative ways to recognize your volunteers. And those are three of mine at our event. We usually do different themes and they're dressed up in their Western gear because this was a Western event. Make recognition personal and impactful. Cannot stress this enough. Cannot stress this enough. A thank you note goes a long way, including your volunteers' names and highlights, specific contributions that they've made. Maybe it's just a phone call. Send them a quick phone. Just get on the phone with people. Really appreciate you getting on the phone and thanking them. It is a lost art calling people on the phone. We're so used to sending people a text or an email, but I can guarantee you if you call a volunteer and say, hey, our staff noticed you in the building today doing X, Y, and Z, and I just want to let you know we appreciate you. It will make a huge difference in how they feel valued. So also exclusive activities to opportunities and events. Our volunteers get exclusive access to signing up for some of our more exclusive volunteer opportunities ahead of time because they've shown up for 10 plus hours. And it's like, okay, you've been coming into the building consistently. This event, which our community packing parties, which is the one that we dress up in different costumes and everything for, are our most popular events. So being able to have our volunteers that have been showing up for us feel like VIPs and get that early access to those is huge. Maybe it's meeting with our executive leadership team and having that opportunity to sit down with them and just have them tell you thank you, or introducing them to our executive leadership team as, hey, this is a volunteer who is here regularly every Tuesday afternoon. We just want you to know about them. And then another thing, turning recognition into motivation. Like I said, ours, we have started to really gamify our recognition. And so we have the badges, we have the fun milestones. At 25 hours, our volunteers are being recognized. At 50 hours, we're giving them shout outs. At 100 hours, they're getting that badge with the certificate that we share in our Facebook groups to let people know, like, hey, this person has reached 100 hours. They've showed up for us. I just got them in. I found a deal on enamel pins. And so now we have 500-hour pins that our volunteers will get to wear next to their 100-hour badges. So I get to give two of those away. And it's just like, that sense of accomplishment is going to go such a long way. And of course, just a shout out to Get Connected. It makes it so much easier for me to sort my different benchmarks that people reach. So, shout out Get Connected. Any questions?
I think you kind of answered it, just because. So, is your approach to, because some people have actual just like digital, like they're long distance volunteers. And so, is your approach kind of this combination of both physical items and this like digital badge?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it has to be because we do have volunteers that are all over. Now, I do give volunteers that reach 100 hours that aren't locally the option to get a gold name tag. I feel like that is important, especially if it's somebody that is consistently showing up and doing things within their community for our organization. I do send them an email and say, hey, you've reached 100 hours of volunteering. Are you interested in receiving the 100-hour badge? We know that you haven't been to our physical location, but this is something that you have earned. And if they say yes, we'll order it and we'll ship it to them. Same goes for like the 500-hour. So that is an option. So engage in digital appreciation. I know that this is a daunting task for some people. It can be for me. I am very fortunate that I have an amazing coordinator who is very, very crafty at creating very cute graphics and everything to really push us ahead. And we have a great marketing team that also does that. Volunteer spotlights with photos and impact stories. It is so important to share what your volunteers are doing, whether that's on social media, whether that's on your newsletters, on your website. It is so important. Use engaging visuals, whether it's a template that you've created. Like I said, I am very fortunate, as tech savvy as I might be. I have like I said, a coordinator who just knows how to really highlight our volunteers in a way that it's like, okay, this is one of our high school ambassadors, and she's actually she's our Youth Service Award not recipient this year too, so very excited. But just being able to share a quote and share the impact that they're making, because you want to share that real impact instead of just thanking volunteers. You can thank them, but share how their work is making a difference, whether it's the number of people who served, the money that they fundraised, or just somebody that's directly worked with them in your building. Share how they've really made that impact. And then, of course, invite other people to participate. I am frequently asking staff that works closely with our volunteers, hey, How did this volunteer impact your work today? How did they show up for you? How did they make your job easier? Can we use that on social media? Can we shout that out to that volunteer? Really connecting with your staff and saying, I want to know how this volunteer has made an impact. Low cost, high impact recognition. Of course, handwritten notes, which we have all talked about, go a long way. A phone call. Personalization stands out so much. I'm going to go back to Sandy. Sandy is in our building every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sandy ties bows on socks. We know Sandy is going to be in our office every Wednesday. I went to the dollar store. I have a Cricut. Went to the dollar store, bought a little coffee mug, printed Sandy's name out on my Cricut, slapped it on the coffee mug, and we surprised her at her office with her own little coffee mug that has her name on it. Cost me $3 to make. $3 because I already had the Cricut vinyl. And I can guarantee you there's one person in your organization that has a Cricut. If not, get at me. I will clearly cut as many names as anybody needs. But a dollar store mug and Sandy's name on it. Can I please tell you, Sandy shows up every Wednesday, and you can find Sandy in our little kitchenette making her little cup of tea or her cup of coffee. And this mug, this one mug, just telling Sandy, thank you so much. We just really appreciate you, brings a smile to her face when she uses it. And everyone knows I'm Sandy. She'll walk up to you and be like, in case you forgot my name. And it's like, never, Sandy. We'd never forget your name. That personalization shows so much thought into just being like, you know what, we appreciate you and we're so glad that you show up here. Make it a team effort when it comes to like handwritten notes and showing and recognizing volunteers. One of the things I did at a previous organization, I would put out just little one pagers of a volunteer's picture and highlights of things that they did. And I would put thank you notes out on a table. And I would have our staff come in and write personalized thank you notes to those volunteers saying, we see you. We recognize you. We're so appreciative of you coming in and doing X, Y, and Z. And it really was so thoughtful when volunteers would open that handwritten note and be like, oh, wow. I didn't even realize. And it's like sometimes our staff needed a little reminder, like you've seen this person in the building doing X, Y, and Z. You probably didn't know it because you've been running around, but they're here. And then small, meaningful gifts. So I never believed that something so small would make such an impact in my organization, but here we are. It's so important to make the mission focus and just encourage that visibility, but I'm going to tell you what they are. We do our community packing parties every quarter. I got this grand idea because we had a very generous donation from Stanley. So we were giving out Stanley cups. And I was like, when I think of Stanley cups, I think of stickers on them. And so I was like, I want to create a sticker to match the packing party. And it was like, okay. So I kind of talked through it with our marketing team and I was like, I just need a sticker. And so we designed it, matched it to the theme. These have taken off. I probably spent about $100 for 250 stickers. And our volunteers come into our packing parties, and before they even check in, they're like, can I get the sticker for this party? And I'm like, of course. And it's a badge of honor when they're walking through, whether it's their normal volunteer shift or they're here for the packing party. They're like, oh, what stickers do you have? Oh, you missed that packing party? I got that sticker. And it's something so small, but they feel so connected to our cause and showing up for us. It means the world that they have collected all the stickers. Or, oh man, I missed that one, but I promise you I'm not going to miss the next one. I want to collect all the rest of the stickers. So just having them display them, whether it's on their water bottles, we have volunteers that display them on laptops. They're showing that they're creating that, they're generating that brand awareness. They're generating that organic, like, oh, that's a really cool sticker. What does it mean? The Yeehaw community pack. I want to know more. They're generating that. Oh, I would love to come and see this. Oh, you have pictures from the last event. Oh, the volunteer director was dressed up as Dion from Clueless at a movie theme one. It just generates that buzz to where people really want to come in and be a part of your organization. So getting others involved in your recognition. Who can help recognize volunteers and how they can help? Involve your whole organization. Make sure that volunteer appreciation is a team effort. Make sure you're engaging your staff, board members, community partners. Like I said, I created just one pagers of pictures of volunteers and things that they did and had staff come in and say, here's some things that our volunteers are doing. Make sure that they know, like, it's not just up to you as the volunteer leader to appreciate your volunteers. It's really on everyone in the organization. Use multiple formats, handwritten notes, social media. Maybe you set up a wall of gratitude on a day where you know you're going to have a bunch of volunteers in and have staff put why they're thankful for the volunteer support. Personally thank your volunteers or feature them in meetings. Feel free to ask your leadership, like, hey, can I bring a volunteer who's really made an impact into this meeting to kind of talk about like what they've done and how they've shown up for us? Make sure that recognition is part of those meetings. Maybe if you have a chance at a staff meeting, make sure you include a volunteer shout out every time. That way people are seeing like, oh, volunteers are really here making an impact. Share those experiences, share what volunteers are doing for you guys. And then of course, encourage your volunteers to share their gratitude. Give them the opportunity to talk back and say, this is what it means to me to volunteer here. Like this is why I show up. This is my mission moment. This is my cause connection. This is why I want to be here. Give them the opportunity to pour back into the organization. And then of course I want you to think about who in your network can help you recognize volunteers. Whether that's other staff within your organization, whether that's individuals that you might work closely with that are volunteer leaders. I know that I'm having a lunch this Friday and I asked one of my volunteer peers, I was like, I am trying to get better with small giveaways that are branded. Can you bring some ideas with you so that we can kind of talk through those? And she was like, of course, I can definitely bring like all the little giveaways. I'm like, I would love to see what you're doing. All right, do we have any questions or anything?
We do have a lot of questions coming
Okay.
through. I know that some of the questions coming up that happened a little earlier,
Okay.
I think I'll touch on now is that, how do you get buy-in? Like, how do you get enthusiasm from the staff to participate in these initiatives? Because it sounds like people are maybe trying. So how much time did that take to build?
So I will let you know, it took quite a bit of time for me because like when I first came into this organization, I will say now it is buy-in is it is full. Like they are all in. But people are apprehensive when it comes to negative experiences with volunteers, and that was a part of it. When you are faced with volunteers just didn't have any kind of structure, or I didn't know what to do with volunteers. I don't know how to interact with the volunteer. So a lot of that took me just being kind of boots on the ground and sitting down with staff and saying, let's make volunteers really not work for you, but work with you. Because a lot of times people think like, oh, great, now I'm going to have to come in and have this volunteer show up and I'm going to have to sit down and explain this to them and I'm going to be taken away from my job and I don't have time for that. It was really sitting down and having those intentional conversations with staff members on, I don't want to make your job harder. I don't want to thrust a volunteer on you if you don't need a volunteer. Like, I very much want this to be something that is going to work for you to where when that volunteer comes in, it's 5 minutes, 5 to 8 minutes of you sitting down, asking them how they are, giving them to their what they're doing for the day, and the meaning behind it, and then they're off to the races. And just from that intentional having those conversations and having those meetings, because that's a part of my job is really sitting down with other staff and figuring out, okay, how can I best partner with you all to make sure that you're getting what you need from volunteers and you're not just being thrown out with, okay, I have these three people here to show up for me and I have nothing for them to do. I don't want that. I don't ever want that to be a problem. I don't want you to ever feel inconvenienced by a volunteer. That would mean I'm not doing my job right. And so just by being intentional with those conversations and revisiting after they've been they've been partnered with volunteers or we've put regular volunteers into place, revisiting that, it has made it so much easier for me when I'm like, hey, myself and my coordinator are going to be doing this event. We're going to need probably support from two or three staff members to kind of help us out. We have staff members that are like, oh, I definitely want to help. Oh, and then once we have staff members that see like one of their volunteers is involved in it, that, oh, I definitely want to be a part of that. Oh, this is something that I can do. I have this skill set. I would love to just jump in and help out with. So, does that answer that question? All right, anything else?
I think the fact that it just like takes time is a really helpful reflection because
It does not happen overnight.
Yeah,
It does not happen overnight. And like I said, it's very much about being intentional in our roles as volunteer leaders of showing people that we want to make sure that we are doing whatever we can to ensure that volunteers are showing up for you in a way that is helpful. And I want to be mindful of our time, so I'm going to move on. So storytelling, making volunteers feel seen and valued. Feature your volunteers in blogs, videos, events. Share their stories through newsletters. Maybe it's a blog post if you have a marketing team and you're like, hey, I would really love to like at least every quarter write one story about our volunteers and their why. Why do they keep coming back? Why do they show up? Like if you know you've recognized someone that signs up for every other Saturday, they're there at the food pantry volunteering. Make a note of that. Talk to that person, connect with them. Create a volunteer of the month spotlight. That's something that we have started doing, and we are very excited that we have started to implement this because we're getting to share our volunteer stories and why they really want to be a part of our mission. And our volunteers love seeing themselves, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's me!" And then getting to come into the building. And with that, I'm very excited about this next part, and I think I'm going to have to hand it over to you, Court. This is one of our my favorite things that I've had the opportunity to do is really create a video around our volunteers sharing their why, and they absolutely love to see themselves in this video because it is such a big point of why we do what we do, and like we were able to recognize them in this video and their work. So very excited to get to share it with you all.
NBCF is a family. I love coming here. The people, they are just great. They are working for a great cause, and I just love being here. So just come and help people save lives.
There's so many ways that you can participate. You don't have to come to the facility here in Frisco, Texas. You can write letters. You can always find ways to contribute. You can also do your own packing party anywhere in the United States because NBCF will come to you.
I volunteer with the NBCF to honor my wife, Christina Estes. She passed away from breast cancer, and I thought of all the things I could do to honor her memory in a positive way. She would have loved me giving back and doing all these crazy things and awesome things for people with breast cancer around the nation.
Volunteering with NBCF, it fulfilled a hole in my life that I really didn't know was there. I just started coming, and the sense of community here and the sense of service has just been extremely fulfilling, and I continue to come back.
You're going to come one time and want to be back every time because of the energy, enthusiasm. I mean, I work shoulder to shoulder with survivors, people that are doing it in honor of someone they loved and lost, and some people that are just serving because it feels good in this world to do something positive.
The National Breast Cancer Foundation is
Rooted in community.
So recognition increases volunteer retention and attracts new ones. Creativity and personalization matter more than cost. I promise you. And then, of course, engaging the community strengthens volunteer appreciation. And feel free to connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn, and you can email me and all of that. And then I think that's it for me.
We've got 5 minutes. Severina, is it okay if we kind of pitch a couple of creative questions to you in the last couple of minutes? We had so many incredible questions coming through. Addie, do you have any that were jumping out to you that maybe you saw a common thread that we should ask Severina while we have her here?
Yeah, I did have a question that was kind of about scale and timing. So a couple of people were like, how we have tons of volunteers. How do I do this at scale? The other question kind of related to that is that we had one specific person who has college student volunteers. They're only there for a semester at a time. So how can we do this in a big way and maybe in a short amount of time?
So in a big way, it's always providing the option. Like I said, with volunteers all over for us, we understand that that is not it is not something that we're going to be able to really create on the scope. And like a lot of our volunteers do miss out on the things that we do at our headquarters. So we've just gotten very nifty with how we go about engaging them. Maybe it's, hey, we're doing a giveaway and we want to just go ahead and honor you and enter your name for this giveaway, and we're going to ship out this beautiful thing if you win. Or maybe it's just like, hey, coffee on us for the day. We're doing a National Coffee Day here. Here's a Starbucks gift card. Go out, buy coffee on us. And I'm sure everyone has seen it where like we've loaded this Starbucks gift card with this amount of money. Please, 1 drink per person. Don't get too crazy. Just really giving people the option to be engaged. Like I said, with the 100-hour badge, I send emails out to people that reach 100 hours outside of the area. And I'm like, hey, this is what we do for our local volunteers, but you've showed up for us. We would really love to be able to offer this for you. Out of the 2 volunteers that have reached it, one was like, I don't really need the badge. I'm just doing this at home. And it's like, you might just be doing that at home, but we still appreciate it and we wanted to afford you this option. The other girl was like, you know what? I don't really need it, but if I change my mind, I'll let you know. And it's like, okay, that's easy. So it's really just providing the option when you have to look on that large scale. For short term, you know that it's going to be short term. Think ahead for each of those semesters. Maybe it's something like you plan a theme for that semester. When it comes to volunteering, you know that at the end of that semester, you're going to be doing this activity that kind of aligns with the theme for the semester, if you can do something like that. But you already know that you're going to have them on a semester basis. Plan ahead for the next 3 semesters, next 4 semesters. Like, okay, at the end of this spring semester, we're going to do a spring luau. And all of our volunteers that help during that time period are going to be able to come in. Okay, at the end of the semester, we're going to do this. So you can definitely just look ahead and plan. I'm a planner and I have a bunch of planners and stabilizers around me that can keep me on task for things like that. So it just makes it that much easier. Any other questions?
Yeah, we did have another question about someone from United Way. Sarah is trying to, invite people to do these spotlights, but they're never responding. They're not sending photos to be able to be on social media, things like that. What's an approach on kind of getting to them to engage/respond?
If someone does not respond to my emails or multiple emails, I get on the phone with them. That's my next step, is that I'm on the phone and I am talking to them. I'm having that conversation. Then I'm following up via email. Something that has worked is showing people examples of like, this is what we're trying to do. Like this is what we want to do for you. Like, because we believe in everything that you've been doing and the impact that you've been making. We want to spotlight you in this manner. And sometimes it's just getting on the phone and having that conversation and being like, hey, this is what we're going to do, following up with the example and everything. So that's what's worked for me. Because I'm not a religious email checker. I'm just like, hey, it's here. I've seen it. I've flagged it. I will get back to it. But I have a 7-year-old. Life happens.
And Severina, just in the last like 30 seconds here, when it comes to kind of your overarching sort of guidance for building a program, because it feels like it takes a lot of, you know, sensitivity, timing, creativity, intuition, because everyone's trying to build something that works for what they're doing and the types of volunteers that they have. And every volunteer community is unique. What would be your kind of guiding big picture, because everyone's trying to make specific decisions for their situation?
Don't sell your ideas short. What other people may think doesn't make sense or won't really matter. You never know the impact that'll make on someone else. So try the idea. Try you know what, I'm going to get a coffee mug for the person who's here every Wednesday and slap their name on it and see what they say. Try all the ideas. Don't sell yourself short, because that one idea could possibly change everything for how your volunteers interact and how they see your program. So
That's amazing. And do you feel like being in community with other volunteer leaders gives you that motivation and feedback to kind of keep trying the new ideas without getting discouraged?
without a doubt, without a doubt, I frequently text some of my closest peers, and Karina, Brittany, um, and bounce my ideas off of them. My volunteer coordinator, Kennedy, is another person where I'm like, is this a crazy idea? Are we crazy for doing this, or should we just give it a shot? Let's just give it a shot. She amps me up to try things outside of the box. And like I said, one year we went from having 15 people do a gingerbread house decorating contest to nearly 55 people the next year.
Thank you so much for sharing from your experience, Severina. It's been an absolute joy having you here today. And we want to thank the incredible community of volunteer leaders who came to join us today. We had about 300 people at one point on the webinar live today, and everyone's questions were so insightful and so important. And we definitely want to follow up with you. I'll make sure in the recording that I'll edit in the appropriate video with good sound. And we'll get you all a link to that to make sure you've got it, as well as all kinds of other bonus resources. And I strongly encourage you to check out Severina's organization website and how they've got things organized on there, as well as their volunteer site. It's absolutely beautiful. And it really does feel like when you land there, you've really arrived at a part of this organization's volunteer community. So really encourage y'all to check out the work that they've done. It's taken time to build and create all of this. And thanks so much, Severina. Couldn't be more grateful for you, and big things to
Thank
Addie
you.
too.
This has been a pleasure for me. And please, everyone, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I encourage it. I can answer all of your questions. If you need to know where I get certain things from, where I find things, ideas, please. I am now your resource.
LinkedIn's an awesome spot to connect with all kinds of volunteer leaders. I love seeing the creativity shared there. So thank you so much, everyone. We're going to log off, and we'll see you very soon at our next session in the series. We've got April 15th. Lori Gottlieb is going to be speaking on building terrific teams. And then on May 15th, we've got Faiza Van Zant coming to speak on Volunteer Engagement 360, the competencies you need to thrive in your role as a volunteer leader. So we'll keep the conversation going. And thank you so much for your time. We will see you then. Bye, Severina. Thank you. Bye, Addie.
Thank you.
Bye.